I shall get the recording notification. Share my screen. And as I'm doing that, about 50% of the time, I completely forget to introduce my own self, just because I've been doing this for so long, and I feel like everyone knows me, but that's not true. So, hi, I'm Serena Roberts. I am co-founder of Moxie Analytics. I work with Ken and Kevin, coming up on almost a year now. I am based in the Twin Cities, which is why I'm running this user group. I've been doing that since 2016. So yeah, wow, super long time. But love this group, love this community. It is literally the reason why I still do this work after so long. So let me slideshow. Can everybody see my slides?
I can see them, yep.
All right, cool. Well, welcome to our February edition of the Twin Cities Tableau User Group. For those of you that are new here, we do meet every single month, with the exception of, well, right now we're probably not going to meet in April because of the Tableau conference. And then we skip November also. So as of right now, we're taking April and November off unless Tableau decides to change their conference schedule again, and then we'll adjust to that. So the conference used to be in November, and we would just use that as like a 2-for-1 to skip Thanksgiving and the conference. But yes, normally we meet every single month. Normally it is the third Thursday, like the third or fourth Thursday of each month, with the exception of December. We meet early December to avoid holidays. Sometimes, so we almost always have a virtual attendance option. Most of the time there's a contingency of us that are meeting in person. Next month will be in person, I believe. But for sure our summer months will be in person with an option to attend virtually. So for those of you that aren't local, you can still partake in our fun. This year, normally we just do virtual only during the winter because it's actually winter, but since this year we haven't really experienced that, it's been kind of like, wait a minute, should we be meeting in person? Because we have no snow. It's going to be like 70 degrees this Sunday, and it's just really weird. So it's a little bit about how this user group operates. I started doing these sort of fun Minnesota trivia questions just as an icebreaker to keep things fun and light. So would anybody like to take a guess at what one of the weirdest things ever recovered from a Minnesota lake was? And if you're chatting, I can't see it. I only have one screen, so I can't see the chat. So you're going to have to unmute yourself and let me know, or maybe a representative from the audience can read me the chats.
I said dead body.
A dead body.
Somebody said DB Cooper. Somebody says a 4-wheeler, a car, but not that uncommon. An Amish buggy. I like that one. A mermaid. Vikings Super Bowl trophy.
Super Bowl trophy. Those are some pretty good guesses. So I got this question from ChatGPT. So if the answer, I did not verify this answer separately. So I'm going to caveat this that if it's wrong, it's ChatGPT's fault. But according to ChatGPT, one of the weirdest things ever recovered from a Minnesota lake was in 1877. While they were draining Lake Alice, which is, for those of you that know the area, near Fergus Falls, they found a massive skeleton that initially was thought to be a giant human, but it turned out to be a mastodon. So I wonder if that's how the whole Babe and Paul Bunyan thing got started. It was just a mastodon buried in a lake. All right, that was just for fun. Thanks for playing along. Okay, so today's agenda. Welcome. Check that box. We're going to quickly cover I guess we'll call them Serena's datafam rules of engagement, which do align really, really closely with Tableau's official sort of code of conduct. But I just took it maybe a little tiny step further, just as a reminder, right? Like I personally hardly ever see anyone violate any of these rules of engagement, but I felt like it was just probably a good time to remind people of how to be, good members of our data fam locally. We'll cover some important news and events, and I will warn you and apologize. There are essentially like 2 short commercials that I have for you about stuff that I would like you to know. So just warning, they're in there. I'll cover them quickly. And then we'll kick it over to Kevin, who is going to share with us just some of his experiences with the last few Makeover Monday challenges, and talk about what Makeover Monday is, just in case you're not familiar with it. But the goal there is to demystify, provide some transparency into what these Makeover Monday challenges are like, how to participate in them, some of the things to watch out for, and hopefully make you feel more comfortable in participating in the Makeover Monday challenges yourselves, and learn some Tableau tricks along the way. And then I have started creating a list of common Tableau mistakes and kind of what to do about them. And that's like, if we have time, because Kevin's got some great stuff to cover, if we have time, we can see how far we get into that. But I've got some common Tableau mistakes, but I would love for that presentation to be much more interactive, to hear what you guys, think are common mistakes, and then what you would do or have done to address those. So that's what's on the plan for today. Okay, Serena's datafam rules of engagement. This one, if you've been part of the Tableau community for a while now, you will likely have heard before. Giving credit where credit is due. Tableau's got this unique differentiator, Tableau Public, where anybody can access Tableau Public for free. You've got a web version of Tableau. You can do quite a lot of things there to learn Tableau, to showcase your skills, to take other people's work and kind of dissect it and see what they did, or like improve it. It's actually a really, really fabulous resource. But because of that, this becomes an important tenet, because you are able to take other people's work and either use it as an inspiration, or literally download their workbook and use it as a starting point for something, a work product of your own. So when you do stuff like that, the ask is that you just give credit to that original author. And sometimes the original author is like 12 steps deep, and there's no expectation that you spend half your day investigating the original source of that content. But at least go one step back, right? Or as many as reasonably feasible. So give credit where credit is due. Praising publicly and often, that's one of the things that I love so much about this community, is that people's willingness to review other people's work, lift other people up, showcase other people, particularly people who have really well-established platforms in this space, like the twins, and a number of other people in this community, right, that have a following. When they tag other people or say, hey, this person just, it's their first dashboard they built, look at this, or whatever that might be, giving people that encouragement, particularly those earlier along in their journey, to keep going and just be right, you're doing great, I was there, sure, you've got a lot to learn, but right, keep going, you're on the right track. So praising publicly and often. Next is kind of the flip side to that, where like if you do have constructive feedback to give, you've seen someone make a mistake, they've done something that we as like seasoned data professionals would know not to do. They've done something, right? Or it could be mistakes that everybody usually makes. But when you have that kind of constructive feedback to give to someone, do that privately rather than publicly, because I think what ends up happening is it looks like you're trying to make yourself look smart by making someone else look not smart. And that's usually not a nice thing to do. And then lastly, and this is, I think, something that our community is incredibly good at, is just sharing your knowledge. And that one thing I'll add to it is that even if you're earlier on in your career and you think that you don't have anything to share with anyone, that you don't have anything to teach anyone else, you're wrong, because there are people who are earlier on in their journey. Maybe they don't even know what Tableau is. And so just sharing your knowledge and, find like that sort of paying it forward, right? Like, I'm sure you've gleaned knowledge from other people, so pay that forward by sharing your knowledge with someone else who's coming up behind you, or at least on equal footing. So that's Serena's rules of engagement. Does anyone feel like I missed anything super important there? Covered my bases. Right. If you think I forgot anything, throw it in the chat and I'll look at it and add it to this. Okay. Upcoming events. We always talk about upcoming events. So our next TC Tug meeting is scheduled for March 25th. So I guess this question for you guys, I said it would probably be in person, just because the weather is so nice. But if you guys, I don't know if you have opinions, shout them, chat them. And also, if you have a space that like a space at your corporate office, or of a space that will hold maybe, 30, 40 people, reach out to me and let me know. We'd like to bop around the metro area so we can make it, convenient for people and not just always in one location. Next, we've got the Tableau conference in San Diego this year. That's April 29th through May 1st. You guys, this is such a fun and amazing conference. If you've been before, you know what I'm talking about. If you've never been, I highly encourage you to do whatever you can to participate in that, because it's really well done. I think the early registration price is still out there. It's like $15.50, somewhere there along those lines. But if you just Google Tableau Conference 2024, they've got a website. They've got here's a template that you can download to convince your boss to, spend the money to send you all that fun stuff. So we'll be there.
Yeah. Serena, some people are questioning March 25th. It's a Monday. Is that accurate? Some people are saying they're usually Thursdays.
Oh yeah, that's not accurate. I wonder if it's 28th. 29th? Is that the right date?
28th. 28th would be the Thursday, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's the 28th. Sorry guys. My bad. March 28th. Here, I'll just change it right now.
I love it. Just change it. Yeah.
That is the 4th Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the 28th. Thanks for catching that. Okay. And so the next two items are related to the two commercials that I have for you. But we'll just kind of cover this in this list. May 3rd, 2024 is the Cities Tech conference. There is a pre-event, red carpet pre-event the night before that comes. It's included with registration. And then the May 21st through May 30th is the Tableau 101 boot camp that is put on by Moxie and the Flerlage twins. And then exciting announcement that we are launching the 201, more like the advanced Tableau boot camp, coming this September, also being put on by Moxie and the Flerlage twins. So let me jump into these quick little commercials about those two events. So this advanced Tableau training is going to cover things like dashboard development, advanced dashboard development tips, advanced charts, advanced mapping, parameters, sets, actions, advanced modeling, advanced calcs, and much, much more. And the best part about it is that because this will be our initial cohort, we will be offering a discount. So we're looking for about 20 to 25 people to participate in that initial cohort. So if you would like to be like sort of on our list, because we haven't finalized the dates or the pricing for this yet, but if you're interested in participating in that, either just like message me in the chat, or you can message me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to Ken and or Kevin and just let us know that you want to be on that list. Any questions about that? Okay, moving on. Okay, so the SysTech conference, this is being put on by the sort of philanthropic arm of Moxie Analytics. It's a nonprofit called the Moxie Foundation. I know, super creative name. But this is a biennial conference that we put together, and it's dedicated to women struggling to be seen, valued, and empowered in a system that works to keep us invisible and validated and quiet. So that all of the sessions will focus on just like building confidence and knowledge and connecting people with resources so they can use their voices to speak up and their agency to drive change. We have our keynote, Elizabeth Adams, who is just an amazing human being and a leader in responsible and ethical AI. She's also a speaker and an author, and she's spoken at the UN, and she's just really incredible. We're honored to have her. We have a number of additional amazing female speakers. So more details on these ladies on the website. We've got an entire panel of female C-suite executives, and we're going to ask them some like really punchy questions. And some really fun MCs to lead the charge. And so ways that you can support the SysTech conference are obviously register to attend. So this is open to, women, minorities, allies, right? Like any sort of underserved community and anyone that seeks to support and just like understand that experience better. If registering yourself or attending yourself is not your thing, you're comfortable with that, you can also gift a registration and we will donate that to someone else. You can make a cash donation in literally any amount. We are also looking for just a couple more corporate sponsors. And then, it doesn't cost you anything to help spread the word and drive registrations. All right, any questions on the SysTech conference that I can answer? All right. Thanks for listening, guys. That's all my commercials. But in other and more Tableau related news, Tableau 2024.1 is generally available, and that includes Tableau Pulse. I know at least between the twins, there's some mixed reviews. There's some skepticism there on how much value is in that product. But if you're curious and you want to know more about it, Tableau Tim, who is he's got an amazing collection of videos on YouTube, all related to Tableau. They're just really well done. He just launched a series of like, okay, what is Tableau Pulse? How do you turn it on? It's available in Tableau Cloud. And then depending on what version of Tableau server you're on, it may or may not be available. But those videos on his channel should help get you started, at least with that overview. So I'll chat this link as soon as I'm done presenting these slides, so you guys can get it there. You can also just go to YouTube and Google Tableau Tim. He should come right up. Okay, so this isn't all about me and all the things that I want you to know. This is an open forum. So if you have events, announcements to share, whether that's, maybe you're hiring for a position or you're looking for a role, now is a great time to just unmute yourself and holla. I'm going to chat that while I'm waiting for people to get their courage. Stop sharing for a moment. All right, Tableau Tim's YouTube link is in the chat. All right, nobody has any news or announcements to share, I take it.
Well, I'll announce one that I have an open position on my team. So I'm Aaron from Donaldson. So one of my team does, one of the things my team does is administers Tableau. And so we have a kind of an entry-level position helping with dashboards and training, but also some data preparation stuff. I think it's for somebody wanting to get in that space is pretty cool in that we've got some pretty seasoned people on there that they can learn from. And so there's a career path as well to kind of grow into a more senior kind of Tableau administrator type role. So
That's awesome.
If it sounds interesting to anyone, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Like literally a couple people come to mind.
Right,
So.
good.
Sarah, you got your hand raised. Was that you're raising it in response to Aaron's announcement, or do you have another one to share?
I had another announcement. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Hi, everyone. I am the co-lead of the LGBTQ plus Tableau User Group, Data Pride, and we are having our next virtual event March 21st from 2 to 3:30 Central Time, and we'll be joined by two new Tableau visionaries, Kevin Wee and Dennis Cow, sharing some recent projects, including Everything Everywhere All at Once data plus movies viz that Kevin made. So just highlighting some of their recent work. So I'll put a link to it in the chat, and
Yeah,
I hope you all can join us.
I beat you to it, Sarah. I just added that link.
Oh, thank you.
That's so cool. Is that based on the movie, the Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah. It's a pretty cool biz. So.
Gotcha. I started watching that the other day. And I won't go into specifics, but my 11-year-old daughter was sitting next to me. And like at that point, it was like, okay, there was a couple of F-bombs, like questionable, but like tolerable. And then there was one scene where I was like, and we're turning this off now. So, but it was interesting movie up to that point. All right, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. Anybody else? Josh says, anyone in this group went through Tableau migration project, connecting your platform from Oracle to Google Cloud platform and any issues? Why don't we save that one for if we have time to do like a group therapy session. That's another thing that we do as long as we have times where people can ask questions, technical questions or things that they're stuck on. And we try to crowdsource solutions for you. So I'm happy you asked that. Let's just save that for the time that we have at the end, because that could be a long answer. Okay. All right, we are already 30 minutes into this. So I'm going to pass it over to Kevin. If you are ready.
I am ready.
The show is yours.
All right. Hopefully you can see a black screen that's turning not black any longer.
We
Serena?
can have, yeah.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Yep, we can see your notes and like the note stuff too, like not just the presentation, but
Yeah.
Well, that's no good. That didn't happen when we tested it, did it?
did you test it in presenter mode, or did we forget to do that?
We must have forgot to do that.
Yep. This is like it should be like a display, like a drop down on the display settings to choose what view it is.
A drop down on the display settings. What do you mean? Where's that at?
It's like when you are in share mode, like presenter mode in PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
To see it.
I don't know what I'm looking for.
Okay, well, why don't you share it back and then maybe I can help you.
Let's try this. I just hit hide presenter view and let's see what happens now. I won't be able to get that back. Can you still see my notes?
Yeah.
Yep, but
How about
do you see where
now?
it says, well, we
Now
can't
it's
see
blank
anything
screen.
now. Do you see where it says display settings at the top right there?
Mm-hmm.
So
Try doing swap.
there you go.
That's weird. I don't like it. It's on my other screen. Shoot. Okay.
Well, those are your choices. You can either let us see your notes or you can
We're
deal
gonna
with
try
it.
one. We're gonna try one other thing. Sorry, folks. Let's try one other thing.
You should be able to choose what screen you share too, I think, right?
Yeah, whether you're
How
doing
about
it
now?
Perfect.
Looks good. Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, quick introductions, and then we'll move on. My name's Kevin Flerlage. My identical twin brother is Ken Flerlage. By the way, I used to actually cling on to just a little bit of hair, but that's gone. I lost hope. We run the website, flerlagetwins.com. Hopefully you visited it. It's got almost 490 blog posts, and I'd say 485 are about Tableau. So hopefully you've run into it before. We work as consultants for Moxie Analytics with Serena coming up on a year now. I'm a 5-time Tableau Visionary. As of today, they announced that today, so yay. And Ken is a Hall of Fame Tableau Visionary. I used to say he's one of 16 Hall of Fame Tableau Visionaries, but now he's one of 23 Hall of Fame Tableau Visionaries. 7 new Hall of Famers were added today. So we work with the wonderful Laura Manson and Serena Roberts. We do lots of stuff Tableau related. Serena talked about some of those, including training, one-on-one course coming up in May. We have fun with it. So it's not just this boring course. We talk a lot about Adam Sandler. He pops up in GIFs and data and all kinds of things. And Ken talks about contrast ratios and shows how I blew it in a viz about Adam Sandler. So if you want a training that's really informative but fun at the same time, check that out. And we do, as Serena likes to say, data stuff for money. Pictures of us at the Tableau conference last year. Hopefully you guys are coming. If you do, check us out. We don't know that we're presenting yet. We hope that we're presenting. We don't know yet, but if we are, hope you come visit us. So today I'm going to be talking about Makeover Monday, which is very not what I would normally talk about. But let's talk about it, and I'll kind of ease into why we're going to do that and what the value is going to be for you. So first off, what is Makeover Monday? It is this weekly community project. It was run by Andy Kriebel and others for many, many, many years. And the idea is they share original visualization. You might have seen it on a news article or on a website, and then they share the data. You can download that data. And the goal is to, as the name would allude, make over that chart, create a better visual. And it's not always about taking that same visual and creating, something better. Sometimes it's just exploring that data and finding something that's really interesting and sharing that. And then you can share that, on Tableau Public, share it on social medias using the hashtag Makeover Monday. What's in it for us as practitioners and developers? Well, Ken and I always talk about these 4 steps to mastering Tableau, and it's really about practicing and training and all these other things, right? So what's in it for you is practice. You have this data set. You don't have to go source your data. You just you grab it and you create a visual based on it. Training. You can be inspiring to others, or you can be inspired from others. You improve your skills. You learn from others. And since everybody's using that same data set, it's really great to, you create this visual, and then you have all these other people that are creating this visuals based on that same data. It's really inspiring. And you really get to kind of join in as a community of learning and seeing, interesting techniques, but also interesting insights that people pull out. I mentioned Andy Kriebel, but they took a leave. They actually stopped doing Makeover Monday for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. And as of 2024, we have some new leaders that took over the program: Irene Diomi, Chimdi Nuosu, and Harry Bearden. They've done excellent job so far. So excited that we have 3 leaders on board for that. So here's an example. The very first one of the year was from a website, and it was Britain's most common New Year's resolutions. And this was showing all Britons, the percentage of people that had that particular New Year's resolution, and showed all Britons, men and women, and how they compared. So the goal was take this and make something better, do a Makeover Monday. We'll show you how I went about that. If you want to participate, you can go to makeovermonday.co.uk. Then at the top, well, you can filter, you can see how many years worth of data. So this is, each one of these has, except for maybe 2023, has 52 weeks worth of data sources that you can download and visualize. And then 2024, you can just go to the actual article if you want, so you can read where that visual was originally published, and then the link will take you to data.world or whatever that is, and you have to get a username if you don't have one, and then you can download that data and start working. Here's an example of that particular. I showed that chart, but here's the actual article it appeared in, so with some context behind it. I don't know how this slide got in there. Sorry about that. There's like an eruption of laughter that I can't hear because everybody's up on mute. I know. So my involvement in Makeover Monday, well, I'll admit it's been kind of non-existent. I've never really participated in Makeover Monday. I did a little bit here and there over time, maybe across 6 years now. It was 7 years now. I probably did 4 or 5 Makeover Mondays, and you're talking about 6 years worth. That's 52 weeks. You're talking, 300 Makeover Mondays possible, and I've only done 4 or 5. But with the new leaders, I was really good friends with Irene and with Chimdi. I don't know Harry as well, but I just thought, well, I'll support them. So I'll do a couple of these and help promote them as new leaders. And then I kind of got pretty excited about it. It was a lot of fun kind of creating these visuals. So I got involved, and what we're going to do kind of today is just walk through 4 of those. Today's goal is to walk through those 4 examples. And it's not going to be just about creating visuals in Tableau. It's really going to be about a lot of different things. Is recognizing problems with the original data, several of these data sets had some issues, and I don't think it's the leaders necessarily fault, and they may have kind of done this on purpose, but it was some of the websites themselves. I'll show you an example of that. We'll walk through sort of my thought process, and even though I'm going to do what Serena did, because I just saw an error in my slide, and I'm just going to fix it on the fly. So hopefully my slide still goes. I'm going to walk through my thought process, like how do I take a data set and then and kind of turn it into something else. We'll discuss design choices as well. And then we'll actually build some stuff in Tableau. Maybe you'll learn something that I do in Tableau, maybe not. But I think walking through that process will be helpful. And then we'll look at some before and after pictures of the original visualization and the angle that I took with it. And keep in mind, in most of these cases, I don't actually just make over the original. I am actually going to do something different, take a different angle, look at a different insight. So let's do it. I'm going to jump over to Tableau. And Serena or Ken, can you just verbally tell me if you can see Tableau now?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Okay. All right. So the first day, well, hopefully we'll be able to see Excel as well. So the first data set I'm going to talk about is the university costs. So this data was for European countries, and it listed the country, and it was the costs for universities. So there was total living costs, and there were average tuition costs. And then there was a total. So this is the total. So living costs, tuition, and total, right? So let's just jump into Tableau and start exploring that. So even though we have that spreadsheet, I like to explore things in Tableau. So this is actually listed under state for some reason. So I've got all these different countries. I'm going to add in this yearly costs here for tuition, and then this yearly costs. And by the way, if you want to build a table and do measure names and measure values, you can just drop that right on top and it'll create that for you. So we have yearly tuition, and let's make that a little taller, tuition and living costs. And then let's add this total on here as well. So the first thing I kind of wanted to walk through is one of the first steps I always take when I'm looking at any data set is just making sure it makes sense, right? So what I started to do is just kind of giving this the sniff test, if that makes sense. 2,800 plus 12,6 is about 50. That looks about right. 3,000 plus 13,000, 16,000. If we look at Bulgaria, 431 plus 7,000 equals not 9,000. And by the way, this is exactly how I downloaded the data. So 431 plus 700 certainly does not total up to be 9,000. So this is why I was like, oh, there certainly seems like there's some issue in this data. And then I saw then these average tuition and then yearly costs, and then the nomenclature is a little bit weird. So I was like, maybe it's not supposed to add up, but that doesn't make sense to me. So what I did was just create a calculation that just added the two, right? The yearly tuition plus the living costs. And let's throw that on my view. And we can now see that 431 and 7,000, we got the 7,400. So most of these are close. These are really close. That one's not close. That's off by a pretty big percentage. That's off by 2,000. So something's weird. Something's wrong with this data, right? I went back to the original article and saw where they grabbed the data, and it is in fact listed exactly like they brought it in. But it's certainly something that would make me concerned. What's interesting is, so what I next did was, let me just sum up these. Maybe these rows, I can imagine somebody doing this in Excel and not knowing how to sort properly. And these rows didn't get sorted with these rows. And so let's just total these up and see if the grand total that I calculate is the same grand total that they calculate. And guess what? It is. It's $3 off. That's probably a rounding thing. But their total living costs, or their totals figure in their data, 422,255. My calculated total, 422,252. I do, in fact, think that they had some weird sorting program in Excel, or a problem in Excel. These don't line up properly with each other. So I thought that was interesting. And oddly, I didn't see anybody else call it out. Doesn't mean somebody certainly could have done that. But I just thought that was interesting because the very first step in this process, we get stuck with unclean data, which is what we're used to all the time. So this is really important that you're actually spending time doing that. Not just, at work, but also when you're doing this, it's good practice. So, all right. So what we're going to do is just move on as if that wasn't a matter. I'm going to use my calculated total versus any of these other columns. I'm just going to calculate total and assume that these are right, even though that's obviously very concerning from the get-go. Let's just start. Maybe I'll just create a map. So again, it's listed as state for some reason. So let me just drop state on detail, and we start to create this map. We could maybe change it to a map, and then we'll use this calculated total. I'll add color. And then, maybe for me, I would just get rid of everything else. You could uncheck all these boxes, or you can just be lazy like me and just slide the wash out. What are these unknown locations? Okay, there's 2 unknown. I'm not going to deal with those right now, but you could deal with those as well. I'm just going to hide it. So we have this map. I guess I should show the original. I have it up here somewhere. Too many things open. So here is the original visualization that they shared. So it's just a map, right? It's just a map with this sort of scale here. So that's what I created. And I think maybe I'm going to make this, let me just get rid of the opacity. So if I were to say what sticks out to anybody, and I won't ask anybody to speak up, they're probably going to say, these countries right here, they're big and they're dark blue, right? That's what's going to, you're going to see these before you see this. You're going to see this before you see the Netherlands or Denmark. And the reason is they're bigger in area. They're bigger, or at least with this map projection, they are. And they stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to jump over to a different blog post that I wrote a long time ago. And this is about a hex map or any kind of tile map. And I wrote about this problem with the United States. If I were to show you this map, you're going to see Montana before you see New Jersey. But Montana has a population of 1 million people, where New Jersey has a population of 9 million people. This little state has 9 times the population of Montana, yet the area of Montana is like, 15 times the size of New Jersey. So this tends to carry this visual weight, right? And you see it first. You don't notice it as you don't notice New Jersey like you do Montana. So a lot of times when we're looking at just a state by state comparison, using a normal filled map or a choropleth map isn't necessarily the right choice. And in this blog post I just wrote about hex maps, how we can kind of reduce that just by using a hex map or a tile map. So in this case, I think the same exact thing is happening. These small countries, they are kind of overwhelmed by these large countries. And it does so happen the large countries are the darker ones as well. So I think I wanted to solve that. So what I did was, I live in the US. I use hex maps all the time for the United States. What I started to look around was, did somebody create a hex map coordinates that I can sort of just do this scatter plot thing with for Europe? And sure enough, they did. So I found this website, statsexplorer.blogspot.com, and they created hex coordinates and it's really small. I don't know why that's so small, but they created hex coordinates for Europe. So what I did was grab those from this website and I loaded them into Tableau and I created a tile map. And the fields were just column. And how we create tile maps, if you're not using a shapefile, it's just a scatter plot. So I've got a column and a row that essentially calls out these individual locations. Then if I put state on detail, and we can start to see these coordinates. And I'm not super familiar with where they are, but I think we need to reverse one of these axes. I can't remember which one, but I think that looks right. Yeah, well, maybe it's this one as well. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So then I just made this a circle mark, and what I did was take this calculated total and put it on color, and calculated total and put it on size. I wanted to kind of double encode that. Now I think, do I have this messed up? I do. Whatever. I'm an idiot when it comes to over here. Anyways, so what we kind of see here is these things aren't, even though it's harder to tell what those countries are, I think we're not having that, we're not losing that having that problem with that visual weight where these countries just, come out to us because they're bigger, right? Ultimately, what I decided to do is a combination of the two. So I created this tile map so that each country would be sort of equal. And then I did colored them based on higher tuition versus lower tuition or not reported in the data at all. And then I did color and I did size. So I think we get this sort of dual information to help us understand. If you were to quickly look at this chart, you could tell that the highest, without the bar chart and without this map, you could easily tell that Denmark and Iceland have the highest two tuition or university costs, just by looking at that very, very quickly. Because I wanted some precision, I added a bar chart. And normally I would not use this sort of gradient color scale on a bar chart, but I wanted it to tie back to the map, which I did use that gradient scale. I thought was important in the map. And just because this kind of looks just like a blob of circles in generally the right location, I added this just standard choropleth map like they used in the original visualization to sort of help guide you. And as I hover over, the UK, it then highlights that mark throughout. So I think that generally speaking, this map is probably more understood by the average human being. But when we really want to have more understanding of more precision, or for building a dashboard, I think it's important to help remove some of those problems with a standard map and use something like a tile map. And we could use a hex map instead. I did that over here. I didn't like the way it looked. Let me just change the background to white so we can see it. So it looks something like that. Probably could be cleaned up a little bit. I just didn't love the way it looked. I wanted to have the circles to where they could actually overlap and kind of be sized appropriately. So, all right. So that's what I did with the university costs. Let's look at the next one. This was the New Year's resolutions. Let's jump over to look at that data. So this was on Inside Out Mastery, and it was 19 surprising New Year's resolution statistics for 2024. They had a couple of different visuals in here, whether people had resolutions at all, some other information, but this is the one that I focused on, and it was just those New Year's resolutions. And it showed a bar for blue, a bar for men, and a bar for women. First thing I would say is all Britons. Well, let's look at the data first, and then we'll get to my point. It's not the one. So let's look at this data. Here's the resolution. This is exactly like it was downloaded, by the way. I would not make a spreadsheet look like that. The resolution, it had a percentage of people that made that New Year's resolution for both male, female, and then 4 different age groups. What you see in the original visualization is this all Britons, right? Well, it's not even in the data. I don't know if they just didn't supply it or what, but it's not in the data. So we can't look at that. So let's just eliminate that as an option, that black bar. The other thing that I noticed just immediately is just that stereotypical blue and pink colors, right? And I think that, we've really gotten away from using blue and pink for men and for women, just because it sort of just extends those stereotypes, right? So I would certainly recommend trying not to utilize those colors. If you have a legend, it should be clear. Good labeling, it should be clear. So how I started working through this was really simple. I just wanted to create the original. So I'm going to put it on columns, the resolution. Now we've got, when we look at the data, we have male and female as different measures. It's not really how we love Tableau to work. We kind of want Tableau, the data in Tableau to be tall versus wide, right? It'd be nice if we had a field that said, male or female, and then we had a value, and then the male and female measures were stacked and in one field. But it's not. So because of that, it's going to force us to use, and most likely use measure names and measure values. So I'm going to throw measure values out here. That looks terrible right now. So I'm going to get rid of everything that's not male and female. Slide that off. And then these are like let's put measure names on color. So now I've got female in purple and male in this green. We don't want them to be stack bars. That makes absolutely no sense at all. So let's take measure names and let's just put it out here on rows. You know what? Let's put it out here on columns. So now we've got this grouped bar that looks somewhat similar to the original, right? One thing I hate with original is looks like this Excel, like angled labels. In mine, they're rotated all the way around, which makes me have to turn my head like this to read. Can't stand that. So let's just rotate this entire chart. I don't know about you, but I hate this. I think it looks terrible. I think it's hard to understand. It's easy to do comparisons, I think, within, but it's hard. My eyes just are hurting looking at this. And maybe partially the colors are causing some problems, but it's just not a very good chart. So what I wanted to do is look at not only how people are answering, but I wanted to understand the difference between how male and females answered these questions or make their New Year's resolutions. So when I'm thinking about tracking differences across these different dimensions, I think about a barbell chart. So we're going to build a barbell chart with this data. So I'm going to put resolution up on rows. Let's just fit the height here. And I hate when they wrap around. Hopefully it looks okay on one row. Yeah. Again, we're going to use measure names and measure values. So I'm going to put measure values up here. And just like before, I'm going to get rid of anything that's not male or female. Again, this is doing a stacked bar. I'm going to change them to circle marks. And then I'm going to, and I probably should have mentioned this before. Instead of dragging measure names and all the fields from over here, I like to use the fields that are on my view. And what I'll do is I'll just grab that and drag it. But if I were to grab that and drag it, it would move that pill. If I hit control, it'll duplicate that pill. And in this case, it wouldn't have mattered, but I'll do that a lot. You'll probably see me do that a lot today. So now we have, these different percentages. And by the way, this is coming in as a whole number, not a percentage. We should probably divide that value by 100 to get a percentage. I'm going to totally cheat and edit this axis. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to totally cheat and format this. And I'm going to go to axis, these numbers. Let's go to number format. And in this prefix suffix, I'm just going to add percentage as the suffix. So now we have these sort of comparisons. We got female here and men here. I think this is still hard to read. So I think we want to finish off the barbell chart by connecting the two. I'm going to duplicate this measure names and this measure values. Again, I'm going to hit the control key to do it. So now we have two axes. On the second one, I'm going to make this a line mark. It's going to draw a line however Tableau thinks we want the line drawn. That's of zero value at all. I'm going to do that control thing again. I'm going to drag this thing onto path. So now it's basing this on these individual resolutions. So let's dual axis this. Let's synchronize as we would. I think this is starting to look a little bit better. Maybe we size this up to see these marks a little bit better. So I think what we start to see here really easily now that we've connected that barbell is the resolutions in which men and women had larger differences. Now, I will tell you, this is raw difference. So it makes more sense probably that there's going to be a greater raw difference from these ones that had higher percentages, right? These are the highest answered, ones that highest, most popular resolution. It makes sense. There's probably going to be a longer bar. If we looked at percent difference, maybe that value would be different. But I decided to just look at the raw difference. And the one other thing that I wanted to know was, okay, we see these differences. We can see there's a big difference in doing more exercise and decorating and renovating or pursuing a career ambition and saving more money. But what I wanted to know is a quick insight, because that's what we do with data visualization. I wanted to know who is more, right? We can see female more here, female more here, men here more here, but I just didn't think it was instantaneous. So what I did was just create a calculation of male minus female. So we're just taking the difference between the two. And then I actually just, I can't remember exactly what I took the sign. Sign is, if you never use the function sign, it's going to give you a -1 for negative values, a 0 for 0 values, and a +1 for positive values. It's just this quick way to say, is it negative or positive, right? So then what I did was just take this sign and put it on the color, and I'm going to change it to discrete here. And I've assigned the negative ones the same colors that I would. So if women's was larger, I made them a -1. If men were larger, it's that positive one in green. And if it's the same, it's gray. Notice the line is on top of these circle marks. So we can just change the order by swapping them and put it to the back. So what we have now is this bar, instead of that sort of gradient color bar, we have the bars now colored based on who's the larger. What I did to make this easy was just to, I'm doing it on the wrong one, doing it on the circle mark. Let's back that off. Let's go to the line mark. I reduced the opacity, and then I brought this mark up to be much larger. And then what we have is this really nice, in my opinion, this really nice chart that gives you a ton of information. You can tell the ones that were the most popular resolutions. You can tell when there's this big difference between male and female, and then just quickly, just with this line mark behind it, you can quickly tell who's larger, right? We can tell this one's purple, that females answer this more often than men. And I just thought those were some interesting insights. What I ultimately did was I added some flair to it with just this sort of New Year's colors, right? I think about a New Year's party with the black hats and the gold, hat, whatever. And so I sorted this by largest differences. So New Year's resolutions, largest differences between male and female. And this, I did that by the absolute value. So what was just the difference, that raw difference between them? And you can see, I think a really insightful chart is, looks like females are more interested in getting, healthier, right? Doing more exercise. Men are more interested in career ambitions. And this is based on the data. I'm not saying that's the case. Women more interested in renovating that part of the house. Men more interested in volunteering. Kind of surprised by that. More interested in raising money for charity. So this is the biggest difference between them. I just thought this was a really insightful chart versus just this bar that just says this is the value, right? So, all right, the next one, highest paid athletes. Let's look at that data. So I've seen this data before. Actually helped somebody years ago, an intern that worked for me, create a visualization based on the exact same data set from ESPN, but it was, I guess, 6 years ago. All it is the top 50 highest paid athletes. It's their name, their rank, the sport, what they earned on field, what they earned off the field, total on the field and then off the field. And then I added these in Excel. Could have easily done this in Tableau, but I was just curious what those percentages were. So when I started to visualize this, a lot of times I just want to kind of see the data in raw form, right? So let's look at this, and I'm going to create a dot strip plot, and I'm going to do it on total earnings. So I'm going to put total earnings on columns. Let's put name on detail. And then so we can start to kind of see this distribution, right? Let's bring this down a little bit. Those are all over each other. So let's bring the opacity down, maybe add a circle mark behind it. So we can kind of start to see this distribution, and as they get higher, they tend to, we see that sort of thin out. Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, lots of Mbappe. You got all those soccer players, and then LeBron. We in America don't think about soccer being this super popular sport here, but it is across the world. Obviously, top three are soccer players. But since these things are overlapping each other, it's hard to see them. So I would like to change this to a jitter plot. Since this is a file-based and it's extracted, I can use the random function, right? So I'm going to talk about random. Hopefully, if we do Tableau conference presentation, I'll talk about this concept a little bit more. So now we can kind of see that spread a little bit. We can see how many marks are here versus when they were just kind of stacked on top of each other. So in this, I had lots of different ideas on how I want to look at it. But you know what? I just was thinking I'd just be interested in kind of some interesting facts about those top 50, right? And probably the most interesting fact, and I'll drop that on there, one female. In the top 50 highest paid athletes, only one female. Anybody guess who that is? I won't hover over it. Maybe I already did hover over it. It's Serena Williams. And if you look at it, she's at the bottom of the list. She's at the bottom of the list. She'll come back up here in a second, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But kind of like, I don't know, shocking to me. Somebody else created a visualization. I think it was Agata Kederick. She created a visualization on Tableau Public for this data set, and it was called Only One Woman. And that's it's kind of depressing, right? But I started to look at other things that I thought were interesting. I looked through some old lists and I found the newcomers. So the newcomers, let's just kind of hover over some of these. Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, Brooks Koepka. If anybody knows sports, those people, I don't know who Patrick Reed is, but there's a Sergio, Scotty Scheffler. So Sergio, and I'm pretty sure it's these four: Sergio Garcia, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, and Brooks Koepka all joined that live tour, that golf tour. That's are paying people insane amounts of money to play for them, and they are newcomers to this list because they got that big just influx of cash. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing I wanted to look at was, all right, who's making money on the field and who's making money off the field. So I created these calculations to look at, all right, who made less, and don't ask me why I chose 3%, but who made less than 3% of their earnings on the field? Drag that on colors. There was only three people. Roger Federer. I don't know much about tennis, but I'm assuming he has retired recently. I don't know, or stopped playing. But Serena Williams did. So she only made, I don't have the total. Let me just put this on here on the tooltip here. Oh, she moved around on me. Serena Williams made 45 million off of the field and only 300,000 on the field. So she played a tournament or something and made a few $100,000, but she made almost all of her money on off the field. Tom Brady retired. He's got lots of promoting lots of products, so making a lot of money still, but not making money on the field. And then Roger Federer, as I said. So, and then I thought, okay, what about the reverse? I thought the reverse would be as well. So less than 3% off the field. And I did something wrong. Less than 30% off the field. That's the label. I don't want that. Let's do this. So I started to look at this, and the very first one I looked at was Deshaun Watson. If you know NFL football, you know he's like one of the most hated people in sports for all the garbage he did. And it's no surprise that people aren't picking him up for endorsements. He's not doing a bunch of car commercials and Nike commercials because people don't like the guy. He makes a big contract in football, even though he barely played this year, but he's not making any money off promotions. The other guys, I don't know. John Wall, he played for Kentucky. I don't know if he's a problem, but I thought some of these were interesting as well. Phil, I'm kind of surprised Phil Mickelson's not making money off the field, but But Deshaun Watson was this kind of cool one that stuck out to me. So I thought about just doing this sort of jitter plot, as we would call it. But then I thought, well, if you guys know Tristan, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He has this tool that he has on his website, lawdataviz.com, where you can actually create these kind of out-of-the-box visuals. One of them is a bee swarm. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try this bee swarm plot. So what you do is you upload your data, and or do you upload your data? I think, yeah, you upload your data. And let's just do it real quick. Well, generally, what you do is you upload your data, and then it spits back a TWBX with that in there. Fingers crossed that this gets just tied right into Tableau, so that we're not having to sort of take these additional steps. Because you imagine if we were doing this for work, then every update we'd have to do a manual update. It's not flowing through. So let's hope that they integrate this with Tableau. But let's give this a try. See if we can do it on the fly. In fact, by the way, I didn't really practice any of these builds, so you see me mess up, and that's all part of what we do, right? So let's go to data sets, and let's pick top 50 athletes. So you see what it's done is it's built this this chart, this bee swarm, total earnings. This is Cristiano, this is Messi, right? This is Mbappe, and you have these different options. You can change some of these views. You can change the size. Do you want it to be a constant, or do you want it to be based on one of these metrics? Let's just make it constant. Let's size that up a little bit, right? You can change sort of like these different, like he calls it collide, like how many pixels, how far away they are. And then what you do is you just literally just download it to Tableau Desktop, open this thing up. Hopefully you open it up. Yep, I opened it twice. And you have this bee swarm, right? So pretty cool. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then what we could do is start, adding different stuff to change the colors. That's what I ended up doing. All I did was ultimately show the different kind of insights that I saw. Females, only one, right? People with less than 3% of on field earnings, people less than 3% off field, and the first timers. Just thought it was nice to present that as some interesting insights into this particular data. All right, I have been talking for about 45 minutes. I'm going to wrap up pretty quickly. The last one that I looked at was world population data. I'll show you that set. I didn't come in here with any preconceived ideas on what I was going to do. I just used Tableau to explore the data, and what you see is it's a list of hundreds of countries, the population in 2023, and then it looks at these changes by year, the percent change, net change, and a lot of other stuff, including ages and the share of the total population, even land. So I thought that there's probably tons of cool, interesting insights in this. So I was excited to explore it. So let's just jump in here and let's try. I'm revealing secrets here. What I did was I did a dot strip plot. So let's look at, I think the field is yearly change. So this is the change, the percentage change from one year to the next. And this is literally the first thing I started with. So I put yearly change out there, and then I put the country out on detail. And if you see what I see, something's crazy. Like, most of your marks are right here. In fact, let's do the random thing again to see how many marks we have. Almost everything in this sort of just barely, small decrease to a small increase, right? And it makes sense. Our populations are going up, so most of the numbers are. Oops, I moved that. I hate when I do that. Let's move that back. Most of our are going to be, slightly larger, right? But the insight is really obvious. Like, what is this down here? This one that lost, almost 8% of their population. That's scary. And you might have guessed it. It's Ukraine. Ukraine, lost a lot of people. A lot of people left the Ukraine to more. So I created a fairly simple visualization. I felt like when I saw this immediately, how could I ignore that, right? I do believe that this data set is rich enough to have lots of really crazy insights. I wanted to look at, population by area and things like that. I just thought that would be interesting. But this, for me, was just like, how could I ignore it? So I did a very simple visualization. It's not super simple. I created, I binned up these percentages, and I created this sort of unit histogram here, to where you can see all these people around 0% or 1, 2, 3% increases, a few with 1% decreases, and then this one out there all by itself with 0%. It's a sad situation. They lost from 2022 to 2023, they lost almost 3 million people, which is almost 7.5% of their population. Not that I need to dwell on this anymore. If you're curious how I made this map, it's a bunch of layers. So this is actually a transparent map. Then I have an image on top of that. Got a bunch of stuff. I had an image on top of a map. So I had like a layer of a map, and then an image that kind of cut out that circle, and then another transparent map on top of it. So you could actually with it. Not that you need to interact with this. That's a technique that I did with Lindsay Betts et al. In our Cheetah collaboration we did 4 or 5 years ago. So, all right, that's really it. Hopefully that was like insightful to some degree. Just some before and afters, the original, and then my version. Again, I think helps you kind of see the degrees and remove that visual weight, while also understanding where those countries lie. I think a lot easier to do these comparisons. Totally two different things I'm showing here. Here's just kind of focused on the resolution. This is focused on the differences. But I think this is a lot easier way to read it, and certainly, in my opinion, more insightful. This is just a table. Highest paid athletes. The table would probably be a lot better than mine if you just want to see who is the top 10, right? Or if you just wanted to find somebody, a lot better than the B swarm. But I think this is just a bit more interesting to kind of pull out those additional insights and to see where they lie. And that one of those examples is the fact that there's only one female, which is just terrible. But the fact is they're most of their earnings, they're at the bottom, and they predict that she's going to fall off that list next year. So likely next year will be 50 males in the top 50 list. So different purposes here. And then the last one, again, just another table, rich with data and probably tons of insights. But just a quick look at the view using Tableau, just a quick exploration of that data really showed this problem with Ukraine. So in just 4 examples, we were able to find problems with the data, and address those problems. We were able to, utilize Tableau to actually explore data. I do so much of building dashboards in Tableau, and I think about my old job. We had a lot of data scientists that only used Tableau for visual exploration, right? And it's just such a powerful tool when you can take millions and millions of rows and find insights quickly just by dragging and dropping a few pills, right? So we used Tableau to explore. We created what I think were more effective visuals, and we got some practice using a bunch of different tricks in Tableau. So if you like that, I'd recommend trying Makeover Monday. If you've done it before, go out and try it again. If you haven't done it, go try it for the first time. It's great for learning and training. It's great for, sharing and being inspired. And then it's great for all that stuff I just talked about, dealing with unclean data, learning data visualization from others, kind of in that joint community, learning Tableau. And I think through it, you end up making some friends that probably be friends for life. So I always say I could go to pretty much any country in this world and have somebody I could have dinner with, because I've been involved in that community. And part of that is that Makeover Monday community. That's it for me. I don't know. I ran almost a whole hour. I told Serena, no, I went 50 minutes. Happy to answer questions if anybody has them. Otherwise, thank you. Hopefully
Thanks, Kevin.
How to stop sharing. There we go. All right.
There you go. Well, I'll open it up to just like, is there anybody that was just thinking like, how in the crap did he do that? That maybe Kevin could review.
Yeah, and sorry, I did go through some of it fairly quickly and just trying to get through the content and kind of talk about that whole thought process. But happy to review any of that if some people had questions.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff. Hopefully, you guys are all left feeling inspired to participate in Makeover Monday rather than just like intimidated that yours aren't going to look as good as Kevin's. Like that's like superhuman level. So don't worry about it. Most people's don't look as fabulous as that, but you should still participate anyway because, as Kevin said, there is just great learning opportunities. From learning how to deal with data quality issues to just like thinking about data differently and really like settling into that analyst mindset.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I've noticed, not to interrupt you, Serena, is one thing I'll note is that I've seen a lot of people start out doing Makeover Mondays and not be very good. And then a couple of years later, they're doing just ridiculously amazing work. And that's not just Makeover Monday; it's people in the community in general. It is a great way to get better at your craft, especially when you're seeing all these other people doing and looking at that same data set. You learn so much, not just from the practice, in the dragging and dropping in Tableau, but from the other people that are involved. So it is a really great way to improve your skills. And I've seen people go from very, very average to insanely good in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And it's free, right?
Yep.
It's community led. It's totally free. And I think, speaking from personal experience, not that I've run Makeover Monday before, but like I know Irene and Chimdy and Harry, like it's a lot of work.
Tons.
And the thing that makes it worth it is knowing that people participate, right? Same thing with running these tugs. Like if I was sitting here talking to my dang self, I probably wouldn't do this for very long. So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Emily says, can you provide the website URL for Makeover Monday? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Let's chat that. You can also, if you, because I think the chat, everyone loses the chat as soon as we end it. So thank you, Jennifer. But you can just Google Makeover Monday. And
I see Nina's asking me to see my dog. She just went outside. Sorry. Can't show her.
She's adorable.
We're first-time dog owners as of last summer, so this is all new to us, but she's awful cute. And she sleeps in our bed with us now. I'm a sucker.
Is that a thing that you were like, that's not going to happen?
Yeah, yes, because then Ken and I went on a business trip last November. She slept in the crate all night, and then when I came back from that business trip, she was sleeping in our bed. She was now a bed dog. So yes.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, Josh, thanks for the pro tip on the Bevy chats. All right, cool. Well, we did have more content, but I'm obviously not going to try to squeeze that in 6 minutes. I'd rather just give you that time back, and we will likely slate that common mistakes in Tableau for March. So the recording for this event will be up on our YouTube channel and in like the Bevy wrap-ups section. Give me like a couple days to make that happen, but it will be available so you guys can go back and review all of the content and all of our shenanigans. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for attending. Thanks to Kevin for agreeing to present. And we shall see you all, or hopefully all of you, next month. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for
Happy
having me,
Thursday.
Serena.